Life Fixers. Hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to better understand yourself, your partner, and your marriage? Today, we're stripping open. We're going honest. I am super excited to speak here with pro athletes and entrepreneurs, Curtis and Krystal Jackson. Thank you so much, Curtis and Krystal. I am super excited to be here speaking with you. Now, usually I get to do some research, get to have a chat, get to know the people before I get to speak with you. But today it's absolutely zero. And I know just as much as any listener listening to this. But I'm super curious. You want to start by telling us how you guys met?
Do you tell? This is a cute story.
Oh, well, we were at a volleyball tournament actually in Minnesota. I'd already graduated, and there's a tournament called US Open Nationals. That's basically, it's like a volleyball national championship for mostly people that have already graduated but want to keep playing. But sometimes college teams, women's college teams will use that as part of their preseason. So I was there playing with a bunch of my buddies, and, we were pretty much half drunk most of the time, half drunk, half playing volleyball. But I know I saw her out there running around in spandex, and that definitely caught my eye. And turns out that one of my teammates went to high school with her. And so I was very eager to get an introduction, and that's pretty much the rest is history after that.
So how many years ago was this?
He's not saying that he thought I had a cute butt, so that's why he came up and talked to me.
Well, I alluded to you running around in spandex. So
yeah,
nice legs, nice butt, athletic. I was in.
Yeah, we went on a date like 4 days later, and that was it. So our date was like 12 dates in one. And that pretty much like sealed the deal of like, all right, this is my guy and I'm his girl. And the next night I went to a date party for a sorority. I was in a sorority at UCLA. And I said, can I call you afterwards? So I call him at like 12:30. He's like, do I have any competition? I said, nope, I'm all yours. And we've been together 16 years in October, married, and what is that? 18 and a half
you're
years.
really strong. Oh God, like the energy coming from you guys.
Yeah. It was a hell yes right away for me. Yeah.
What was in that date right away that you saw like, okay, this is it?
For me, okay. So first of all, I was like late. So my bad for being late, but I actually prepared him. I said, most likely I'm going to be late. And we got there.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, I know. Now knowing what I know and what I teach, like I would never say that. But I didn't realize what I was doing at that time. But the thing that was really attractive for me was I sat down. I said, so like, do you know what you're going to order yet? He's like, no, I'm actually really nervous. So vulnerability, and for a man to be vulnerable, especially, can you lean back a little bit? There you go. He's like so up in there.
I'm getting comfortable.
I thought it was really attractive that he was so vulnerable about how he felt. And we did not know each other. We talked a couple days at this volleyball tournament. We had one conversation. He waited the typical like 3 or 4 days to call me. I wanted him to call. Yeah. Huh? It was 2 days. Excuse me. Okay. So at this volleyball tournament, I flew home on a Tuesday. You asked for my number that day. I made him work for it. And then
in what way?
Well, because the backstory of it, there was a 9-year-old boy that was friends with the players on my team. So I'm 21. Him and his friends are, I don't know. So he was 26. So somewhere around the 26s. And this little boy comes up to him and says, there's a girl on that team that Curtis was watching at the time that likes you. And he says to the boy, who is it? Which one? Is it that one? And he doesn't tell him. So he comes up to me after my game and says, hey, I heard you have a crush on someone on my team. And I said, yes, whisper it in my ear who it is, which I've never said that to a guy before. For some reason, that's what I did to him. And so he says, it's me. And I said, yeah, it is you. And like, your look was so cute.
Well, because I made it up.
Yeah, it wasn't true.
The kid never told me who it was. So I made it up that it was me, and that just happened to be fortunately correct.
But, imagine 3 to 4 days of like flirting with each other. And the part of the story he didn't tell was that he had drank all night and came and sat next to me after his game And I'm like getting my shoes on and everything. And he has on no shirt and this old beat up jacket and smells so bad, like really bad alcohol breath. But it won my heart. Like he came and sat next to me and we chatted, and I don't know what worked.
I do not recommend that strategy for any single people out there. You're way off track. You know what she asked you about like a half hour ago? Well, first, I guess
this is so interesting. I'm loving it. It like proves like how that real click right away. There was just like, yeah, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I was already graduated. On paper, it shouldn't have like made any sense. She was in a sorority, still in college, and I was like 4 years out of college. I'm like, oh my gosh. She was at UCLA. I was living in San Diego. I was like, what am I doing? Like driving up to UCLA. I don't think this is gonna work out. But I don't know what it was on the
first.
You've
never told me you thought it would.
I thought it. I mean, you're in a sorority. I mean,
I've never
usually a good sign for me personally in my past dating experiences. So
good to know. Here we are.
Are you still worried about that?
What'd you say?
Are you worried about that?
No. 16 years strong. I think we're good.
Yeah, it was just easy. She just made things easy to be around her. Like that first day, it was supposed to just be breakfast, and then it turned into a bike ride at the beach. Then it turned into her driving all the way to San Diego for a free Jack Johnson concert. And then that turned into dinner, and that turned into drinks. And then like, it's just really easy to hang out with her. So I don't know, just very easy.
It was easy.
It's in one.
Yeah.
So, okay, now tell me a little bit, like go back to what you were saying, how you still live in California and you moved back to Montana. You moved to Montana. Why did you do that? And how did that affect your marriage?
That was interesting. He's been hunting in Montana for multiple years. And I remember him coming home being like, I could just live in Montana. And I said, you're fucking crazy. I'm not moving to Montana. And at that time, you know, like really had created friendships there. Our business was thriving. So we owned a gym down in San Diego, and it was doing really well, and playing beach volleyball with my girlfriends multiple days a week. And like, our life was good. We lived walking distance from our business. We had 2 children. There was no way I was going to up and leave. And then we just started talking about it more. And I'm a very open person though, too, I would say, like, but it was a little bit of work on your part of just showing like pictures of this cute little town that he found. And so then it was, okay, well, let's just go visit. I've never experienced a winter in my life. So we went in the middle of winter. We went Valentine's Day weekend, and it was like 3 beautiful blue skies, which never happens.
It's like cold. I'm like, what are you doing going and checking it out in the winter?
Well, because I wanted to know, could we live there?
Right, you know, right. Yeah, 100%. That's the worst. Like, you're not really getting your answers like that.
Yeah, it was a challenge, but then we decided to go on a vacation in May, and in April, I think it was March. I said, hey, babe, I think we're going to want to be in Montana for the summer. I think we should find a house for the summer, and we should go early, because we had talked about going in September, but we went on a vacation we were going on a vacation in May. So 30 days later, not 30 days. Sorry.
Okay, I have a way different story for how this actually
happened. How fun.
Yeah.
Okay,
so first of all, she's a sucker for Christmas. And so when I was enrolling her in the prospect of moving to Whitefish, Montana, if you Google Whitefish, Montana, one of the first images that comes up is the main street decorated all in Christmas stuff with the ski mountain behind it. It's like a very iconic picture. So I was like, well, this is where I'm thinking about we could maybe move. And she's like, okay, so I'm open to it. And then we came, we visited, it was beautiful. We could see that it's a great place to raise kids, which is one of the top reasons we were wanting to move.
How old are your kids?
Now they were 2 and 4 at the time, 2 and 4-year-old boys. Now they're 9 and 7. And then we've also got a 2.5-year-old girl that has joined the party ever since. But, and then we were talking, finally, it was like, after that trip, it was like, okay, let's do it. Let's plan our exit strategy from the business and get our stuff in order. And we were talking about September, like she said. At about that time though, one of the things, just Southern California was so busy, and there was a lot of shootings at that time, a lot of school shootings. There was, You remember the Orlando nightclub shooting. There was the San Bernardino Jewish Center shooting. And I think it was the San Diego Jewish Center shooting when you called and you were like, you know what, let's just go. Let's just go for a simpler life. Not as hectic, not as crowded, not as crazy. And then I found a place sight unseen, rented a house, and we were up there. May 15th of 2016.
So I think it was both stories, combine them together. Because there's both, but there is.
Like, none of you lied. You just had different perspectives.
For sure.
The secret to marriage is understanding that no one is ever right 100%.
But I will say the shootings definitely made an impact. And I remember calling you. You were at a baseball game. He had a few beers. And I said, I think we should go early. We are going to want to spend the summer there. And you were so excited.
Yeah.
You were like, okay. I mean, I gave him the green light. So then he did this research and we said, if we get this house, let's go. And we're like, let's just give it a shot. Let's just see if we're going to like it. And then we got the house, put in our 30-day notice of our place, figured out how to get our business 100% running on its own. And we chose to come here. So it's been awesome.
So cool. And then what's your favorite part about it?
What's your favorite part, babe?
Probably the people. That's the one thing I really miss when I'm not in Montana. The simple things of, people go out of their way to wave to you.
That's true.
People go out of their way to stop in a parking lot and let you and your family walk across. It's just, people make eye contact with you and smile. It's just a general pleasant place to be. And then of course it's just not nearly, it's a little more wide open here. So you don't always have people in your face. It's just beautiful too. Cleaner air, cleaner water. I don't know that any place on earth actually has clean air and water anymore, but definitely cleaner air, cleaner water, and just a lot more, the people are more relaxed. People aren't as wound up. So I would just say the people. If I had to nail it down to one thing, I'd say the people.
There's a lot of things. I can't really narrow it down to one. What brings me the most joy is to see how happy my kids are here. I feel at home here. We live across the street from a forest. So I never knew I was really connected with trees in the forest. And so discovered that by being here in Montana. But really, I would agree the people, but really it's just a simple life. And that fires me up, that fuels me. And I used to live in LA. So I've gone from busy city life, LA, to mellow, connected. For us, family has always been the number one thing. We've chosen to leave a successful business. I won't say leave, but, not be there in person anymore to create a different atmosphere for our family, which felt true to our hearts. And we always have listened to our hearts and our, what we call our guidance system. And I believe it being for me, it's we're just grounded here. It's a great place to raise your family.
Do your kids remember living in California?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We go back quite a bit too. So they get reminded of it a lot. We've got, my parents still live there.
My family too.
Her family is up in San Luis Obispo, but we still have tons of friends down in San Diego. So we still go back to where we used to live in the gym area. And they do remember quite a bit. But they love it here. They absolutely love it here. We're all living in our dream location, which is pretty rare, Our oldest son, Dylan, he might end up in Hawaii someday, but he's kind of a tropical dude. I think he's
going to live nomad, kind of wherever his soul takes him to.
He's a little bit resistant to the skiing, the cold, but he still loves it up here. He's really excited. He's really excited to shoot his first deer this year and provide for the family. That's probably the other thing that I love about up here. I love getting my own food. So being able to get our own red meat through deer and elk and antelope. And then also like yesterday, I went out and caught 22 fish and spent half the day cleaning them and, freezing them and making dog food out of the carcasses, all that stuff.
You didn't know what you were getting into.
That's the type of stuff.
I love it so much.
And he's going fishing in 2 days. You're going to go fishing all day too. One of the things that we didn't share that, coming to Montana was really one of the driving forces was he wanted to hunt and fish more, and I really believe that there's a connection of our soul being connected to the earth. And that's something that lights him up, and you got to follow that thing that lights you up, And so I think it's really important for people to hear. And even in our relationship, it was like he talked about, so easy. It was easy. I could feel it here. I literally called a girlfriend right after I met him. And I said, I met the most incredible man. And I thought he was going to be my best friend. Like I've always been really good friends with guys. So I thought, okay, this guy's going to be my best friend, like that kind of way. But I remember like you were just you just stood out to me so much. And another little fun part of the story, because I know I'm totally digressing here. My senior year.
That's what you got into. A lot of digressing and
this is
off
really good.
Track. Yeah, no.
This is awesome. Yeah.
Good. You're welcome for the entertainment. My senior year of high school, I'd committed to UCLA already, and his team was playing in the finals at UCLA. And so my date for my prom.
Long Beach State, by the way.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. He went to Long Beach
Harvard
State.
of the West is what it's known as.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. You guys are such scholars at Long Beach State.
If you can't get into Long Beach State, you end up at Stanford. That's a very common saying.
I thought it was UCLA.
I only know of a Westwood Junior College. I've never heard of UCLA.
Okay. So he's playing at UCLA. He's playing in the finals, his team. And I love telling the story because I really truly believe in the power of manifestation. And I remember one player from his team besides my friend who was playing on the team, our mutual friend, and it was him.
The same guy that introduced us.
Yeah.
Whatever, 4 or 5 years later at the volleyball tournament.
I knew Matt, and then I only remember one player on that Long Beach State team, and it was him. So then fast forward 3 years later and we meet. And at that time I was clear I was ready to meet my husband. And he was clear that I'll stand up a little taller. It's all good. And he was clear that he was ready to settle down. So, if we had met when I was 16 and you were 21, we used to go to the same beach to play volleyball.
Well, that would have been weird.
Oh, that would have been super weird.
That would have been just really weird.
That would have been creepy.
Even though
I'm picturing things in my brain.
It just would have been weird. I mean, and my mom and dad were so strict. There was no way that would ever even happen. So what I want everybody to hear is like when we met, and this was actually like what I was saying, like, I prayed that I meet my husband at the perfect time for both of us. And that worked. It was like 2 months later and Curtis walked into my life. And it was the perfect time for me. It was my last competition before summer started and then I was just training at UCLA and I had the flexibility to drive down to San Diego and see him. And he was healed and ready to meet someone as well. So it's, when you're talking about love and relationships, and it's all about who you are on the inside to attract in that person, right? Like, I knew I was clear I was ready to meet you. And then he came in. But also I believed in myself. I believed that I was worthy to receiving a man like him in my life. And I could share, that wasn't always true for all of my life. But for some reason, in knowing that I wanted to get married, I knew I was ready and it came really easily.
So do you mean that with just that last sentence that you said that it wasn't your whole life, or was it in all areas of your life?
So like when we got married, I share this a lot individually, and meaning typically we're not in an interview together, but he knows this. Like when we got married, like I wasn't a very worthy person. My worth was outside of me, meaning my worth was tied up in athletics and results in life. So like I even questioned him for years, like, why did you marry me? So, but then and we had a very different marriage when we first started. Like,
yeah, that was my question for you that I didn't get a chance yet to ask. I got too busy with other things, how your relationship changed. So I'm not going to interrupt you now.
No, it's perfect. And it's something I love to share because, I was just kind of like whatever you want, babe. Like he'd be like, what do you want to do tonight? Where do you want to go to eat? It's like, oh, whatever you want to do. And not that that's a bad thing, but also it wasn't me being in my power. And it wasn't, I would imagine, not even like the most fun times either. I mean, you can chime in if you want, but
I think that
interesting.
The main thing that Krystal and I have going for us is that we are never we're never done like working on ourselves. So in taking a step further in that regard, we're never done working on our marriage. So we're always trying to, kind of up level who we are as people, who we are as leaders, who we are as parents, friends, spouses, whatever. And so, and when you're in that kind of like personal development world, and you just kind of have that mindset that, you're never quite done. I call it like a white belt mentality, that you're always a white belt, that you're always wanting to learn, and that you're never quite done, growing. And so, and part of that led us to a lot of very powerful, like leadership courses and stuff where, we're just very committed to the fact that we're never right. Like, there's never, we don't do right and wrong in our house at all. And with our kids, with her, it's always this is how I'm seeing things. How are you seeing things? Let's figure it out. Okay, cool. Let's go. And there's a high level of mutual respect there when you adopt that attitude in a marriage of no one's right, no one's wrong. So I don't even remember what the question was. I'm giving Krystal crap for going off,
but the point, and I love that. And yes, we've developed the marriage that we have today. Back when I was younger, wouldn't speak up, like would have burning in my throat. I never wanted to say anything to hurt him. I wouldn't voice my opinion or my truth. And that's not anything to do with him. That was how I chose to live. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. And then looking within and doing personal development, it was like, oh, wow, I have a voice too. So I remember this, babe, like I started giving an opinion. He's like, whoa, what is this? Like not used to it. He was like, and I was coming in hot too.
She swung the pendulum really far the other way there at first.
Yeah. So it was a shock to him, but now it's exactly what he says. Like, I'm not right. He's not right. Neither one of us are right or wrong. And we talk about it. Hey, this is at least our magic trick is like, hey, I get to clear some energy with you. That means there's something that isn't working. Or, hey, let me just share with you what's coming up for me. This is what I want to make up in my head, even though that's not really what's happening. But I want to tell him he's my guy. This is the guy I'm spending the rest of my life with. This is who I've chosen, or we've chosen each other, and very clear that like, we're not looking for anything more, but to grow and develop our relationship. And today I can for sure say 100%, this is the best our relationship has ever been because we put the work in. And one thing we do, we got off track a little bit over the summer. We traveled a bunch, but typically we talk every morning for 20 minutes to an hour, whatever it is, we connect and we talk. Because we know, number one, we get to be good with ourselves, right? So we do some work on ourselves and then we chat because we have 3 children that we're responsible for, plus a business or 2 businesses. So we get to be on, right? Like we get to be on as parents, but also, like he said, leaders in the world. And if we're off, then the energy of the home is going to be off. Yeah. And the kids feel everything. They feel everything.
Yeah. That's for sure. So how do your kids view you, as like parents and as a marriage? Like, what do they see? What do you think? I know I have to ask them, but because they're not here,
I love the
answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they see the same thing. I think they see 2 people that really respect each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of it can be traced back. A lot of, I think, arguments and yelling in relationships, marriages comes back to, I think I'm right and I think you're wrong. And they don't see that. They see we don't yell at each other. We don't it's very, when we're, like you said, it's just like, hey, if there's some weird energy here, what is it? Let's talk about it. Let's be done with it, And one thing that we did do good, from the very beginning, or at least I did well, and she had to kind of get used to it, was that I was like, she felt like I was nitpicking her about stuff. And it was like, look, I want to keep small things. The last thing I want to do is like keep things in and bottle stuff up. And then all of a sudden it explodes, And so that was like a revelation for both of us, and be like, look, and same thing for you. I don't want you to hold stuff in and then all of a sudden it explodes. So we're very good at getting stuff out right away. And the kids see that. So what they see us talk, we actually let them sit there when we're talking about stuff. We don't have like a closed door policy about finances, about what's going on in our marriage, about why we're parenting them the way we're parenting them. We're completely obvious with them, or obvious, not obvious, but we're completely honest with them about that. And, we're not saying stuff behind their back that we wouldn't say to their face, which is a cool, the other day, actually, our son, Krystal, was in the car. I didn't even know my son Dylan was in the car. And she was like, oh, Dylan really doesn't want to go to his workout. And I was like, well, Dylan gets to learn how to do things he doesn't want to do that are going to eventually benefit him. And she's like, do you know he's in the back? I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter that I didn't know he was in the back, but that's exact same thing I would say to his face. So we don't have a culture of secrecy here. And it's really important, and like, just in our little town here, a little high school kid just the other day committed suicide, and, I just, we're talking about, I'm like, that's a kid that wasn't talking to people. He wasn't, and I don't know. Obviously, I don't know anything about that scenario, and it's not an indictment on the parenting at all. But typically, those kids don't have anybody to talk to, and so we want to always have like a very open, make it very obvious those kids can say anything to us. That we do one thing also every now, and we haven't done it for a while, where we just sit around the kitchen and we just give each other feedback, honest feedback. And the kids will be like, Dad, I feel like you were being mean and yelling, or you were being dishonest, whatever it was. And we let them say anything they want without any repercussions whatsoever. We just have a very, our saying here, feedback is neutral.
And we do good feedback too. It's like, we do what's working and what's not working. It's not just what's not working. But no, which is
it's an unusual, it's a different way to parent for sure.
100%.
I love that. Yeah. Like people talk about on the podcast all the time, like they have like set times, some people do on their anniversary, 4 times a year or something. They give like honest feedback, but just like them as a couple. But that's the first time I heard it as a family, and I love it. Do you give your feedback also to your kids, or you're like, no, this is a time for them to?
We want them to have thick skin. They get to hear what's working and what's not working. Like if one of our kids yells at another kid, I'll be like, hey, that doesn't work. What's another way that you could express what you're trying to express? And we have them do it again, and it's like, we're not here to tell our kids what to do. We're here to empower our kids so that they have a voice. They trust themselves. They can speak up. When we were in California over the summer, something happened with his mom and our son Slater. And I was so proud of him. He went up and he talked to his grandma and told her exactly what he felt. And then your mom was so cool. She was like, thank you so much for telling me. And they had this beautiful conversation. Now, most people would be like, don't ever let a 7-year-old talk to you that way, or doesn't get to speak up like that, where we're like, and that was on his own. We didn't say, hey, go talk to grandma. It was like, he just like, this kid just, hey, wants to express himself. And why shouldn't they be able to? Just because they're younger than us. I learn every day from our kids. And to go back to your question, what do our kids think of our marriage? My hope and what I believe that they see in us is 2 people that really love each other. 2 people that are committed to each other, that are willing to work through whatever is coming up so that we can individually be our best as a couple, and be our best for our children. It's very important to me. It's a huge priority it's always been a huge priority in our life, in our relationship together. And we've been in business together the whole time almost as well. So it's not just being a couple, having 3 children. We've also ran businesses together as well. And I wouldn't choose to run it with anybody else. Like he's like, why would I get married to go work all day away from him? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like people always are like, how could you guys work together? I'm like, but he's my best friend. He's my guy. Of course I want to be with him. I think we can't get enough. He thinks we have plenty.
Yeah, but that works for us. That works for us. There's certain people that like, it works that their husband's gone for a month out of, 1 month out of every 3. It's like, or whatever, and so it just works for us.
Sorry, not making anybody wrong for what your thing is.
Just understanding your perspective and your relationship. Yeah.
It takes a lot of working on stuff to spend as much time together as a family that we do. We run the same businesses together. We homeschool our kids. We go on 20-hour road trips to California. We spend a lot of time together, which I think our kids will also remember about us and their childhood, was that we spent a lot of time together, which is really, really cool. Kids are like dogs. The more time you spend with them, the better they behave.
Oh my gosh, you just referred to our kids like a dog.
Oh, I got a lot of kids are like dogs. Kids are like dogs. The less you feed them, the less picky they get.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Let's just stop right here.
She's not liking it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Oh God. I love it. I love it. Your kids sound like they are really, really strong. And as they grow up, like they go more into their teenage years and they have more challenges, they're going to like have the tools they actually need to like face this crazy world.
Well, that's exactly right. They're going to get somebody that's not going to talk to them, nearly as like, I guess, nicely as we do. A coach, potentially a teacher someday, if they do end up in a school or whatever, potentially a boss, if, whatever, they're going to get some honest feedback. And so preparing them for that in life, I think it's not all, life's not all unicorns and rainbows. Like I
like to think it is. But
Krystal likes to think it is. That was probably one of the things we were kind of like maybe disagreeing on, over the last maybe a couple months. And like, I'll get in their dish and like give them some really honest, like direct feedback, and raise my voice a little bit. And what I make sure I don't do is do it in anger. But I will get louder. And I will get more stern. But what I don't want to come across is that I've lost my cool and I'm angry at them. But I do want them to know, in a very serious manner, the way they're currently acting is not a way that works for our family. It's not going to work growing up in life. It's not going to work for your future relationships. And I think that's a big delineation when your kids know you're mad at them. That's a real big bummer. And so there's a way to
frustration too.
Frustration is also very, so we make a big deal about, being in charge of our emotions around the house, that we know that being angry and frustrated is a choice around here, and teaching them at an early age to be able to, control those emotions, in difficult situations, is a big part of our parenting strategy.
And I'll add to that, we're not perfect by any means.
Oh, no.
Have I done so many times been frustrated with my sons? Yes. And it's a conscious awareness where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm putting frustration on my kids. They are seeing my frustration. Okay. That's something within me that I get to work on. That's actually them not listening doesn't have anything to do with them and their actions right now. That's about me not being heard and what's coming up because of that. I'm frustrated because I'm not being heard or seen by them right now. And that you can go back to my childhood. And I can tell you many times when I felt that way, but that's my job, my belief as a mom and a wife and a parent and all the above and a human being, to look within and go, what do I get to let go of? What if it has nothing to do with them hearing me? What's another way that I could reach them? So what doesn't work is if I'm walking around the house doing a million things. Hey, Dylan, can you go grab this? Or da, 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 and like just give direction. It doesn't work. But what works if you go up and like, hey, buddy, can you please go get ready for whatever, done. Right? They hear you, they see you. One thing I love to do is get down on their level and look them in the eyes. They want to be seen and heard just like we do. You know what I mean? They do. And even I'm coaching our daughter's soccer team. So she's 2.5. So she's kind of out there kicking the ball all the way up to like 4-year-olds. And anytime those kids, it's like, get down on their level. It doesn't matter the age, get down even at 2.5, instead of me talking down to our daughter, like get down at her level, like, honey, what do you want? And again, we're not perfect, but also I want people to hear this one thing that's really, really powerful. I'm humble enough and confident in myself that I will go and apologize to my children when I'm out of alignment. If I yell out of frustration, which is very rare, to be very honest, and we will tell you anything, or you know what I mean? Like we're an open book. But if that happens, if the frustration comes up, I'll go over to my son and be like, babe, that was all about me. You had nothing to do with that. That's all on mommy. And I apologize. And it happened actually just the other night. And he gave me a hug and he's like, it's okay, mommy. I love you. I forgive you. Aww. You know, we talk about forgiveness too, because we're not meant to be perfect by any means. But I don't know that many people that are going up and just like acknowledging and sharing. We tell our kids everything, sharing the process of what was going on up here and up in here, which is really powerful for your child to see what's really going on so that they can create a different story than, oh, my parents were always mad or frustrated with me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Really setting them up for success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Or we're just messing them up, but I don't think we are. But you know what?
The results are only kind of in.
What I know though is like, we're doing our best, and it's not to make anybody right or wrong for what they're doing. We're doing what we know is best right now in this moment. And like he said, we're forever a student. We are forever a white belt and learning every single day. My children teach me something every day because I want to learn from them. It's not just about me teaching them something.
I love that. Okay. So as you were talking first, like in the beginning, right, I was like, okay, you guys like sound perfect at the beginning. You obviously had your challenges with like who you were and working on yourself, but now, and then you made that comment that we're not perfect, but I got curious about what was your worst moment in your relationship?
Our worst moment.
There was one time, it's easy for me, actually.
Oh, I'm so curious. This is a great question, by the way.
When we were first dating, maybe, I don't know, a few months into it, maybe 4 or 5 months into it, she went to a club or something around UCLA, and some guy asked her for her phone number, and she gave it to him, and she told me this. And I was fucking pissed. And I was like, I'm just telling you right now that if I'd have found that out without you telling me, we would be broken up. You know, she didn't think anything of it. She's like, he just wants to be a friend, da, da, da. I'm like, well, let me tell you a secret about guys. Unless they are very, you know, they're not interested in the female species in one bit. That guy does not just want to be your friend. That guy wants something else. So she didn't think anything of it. And that was, you know, it was weird for like that night and maybe a couple days after. But I mean, that was probably, we got over it, obviously.
Do you remember that, Krystal?
Oh my gosh, I remember it. And I haven't thought of that in, I don't know, 18 years. So
that's a good sign.
Yeah, that is a good sign. Yeah, you know, I would.
To her credit, she called him and said, I should not have done that.
Yeah.
She called that guy and said, you know, that was a mistake. I should not have given you my phone number.
Just were we officially together then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And it was right before like our friends were coming over to go out for dinner. And it was just like so awkward at dinner. And we went to like a bar. It was like, and all I could think about was what just happened. But that was probably the only one I can really think of.
Yeah. No, I will say I was super naive, you know, and naive, there's good and bad, whatever, there is no good and bad. Never mind. Cancel that statement there. No, just kidding. Yeah, I wasn't proud of it after the fact, for sure. It was like, oh my gosh, why would I ever even risk this amazing thing that I have? But also I believe, you know, we can do that to ourselves. If we aren't 100% like confident in who we are, we can do things to sabotage ourselves. So It's interesting. I haven't thought about it in however many years, but I'm grateful that you brought it up. And what a great learning moment for me, and it was very clear, like talking to guys, it was like, I'm with someone. It's my guy. There was a boundary that was set after that. Well, we actually created something after
what's
that.
Interesting. Yeah. And after that, we were like, all right, well, let's just to be clear. We don't need to have, Curtis, don't need to have any more friends that are girls. You, Krystal, do not need to have any more friends that are guys. So we don't need to give out our phone numbers to any of the opposite sex for all of eternity.
And we don't go have coffee with them randomly, with the opposite sex, but I know where you're going. So go.
But as we progressed in our relationship and the more leadership training we did and the more personal development training we've done, now we don't have that conversation at all. Like there's a level of trust now. Like she has a lot of guy friends actually that she's made since through various things, podcasts, different, the world that she works in, everything. And some of them have become like very good friends that she actually says, love you. Like as she gets off the phone with them, and I know these guys obviously, and they're great guys. But it just goes to show a lot of that, how much it was born out of lack of trust, either lack of confidence in ourselves, me obviously going ape shit over the fact that she being naive, gave her phone number out to another guy. And, the level of trust and, that stuff can be built. It's not like we're not hardwired with a certain amount of confidence or a certain amount of trust in other people. You do enough work on yourself and those things are just like a muscle, just like going to the gym, you can strengthen those things. And, which is, I guess probably one of the biggest things I would want people to like take away is you're not stuck with what you got, like everything is, improvable, physically, mentally, spiritually. It's all possible if you've got the right belief and that it can be a better situation, whatever that is,
I love that he brought up that I have guy friends that I say love you too. He has girlfriends, actually other girls named Krystal that he says love you too. But they're all our friends.
Yeah. And so it's a different type of love you. It's
Yes,
totally.
Very much so.
100%. Yeah. It's a total different love you or I love you or whatever. But the point I love that you're bringing that up is because we're confident in who we are individually and as a marriage, that there's no question. There's nothing that I'm like, oh my gosh, you're talking to blah, blah, blah. Should I be concerned? That's not what happens. For me, the hardest part in our relationship was he came home from a training and we sat down and told each other everything that we needed to tell each other. Every thought of a different person or just, you talk about like bearing down to everything. Like, do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. It was crazy because
essentially the criteria is the exercise is to sit down. If every person from your past came, knocked on the door to tell your wife, a story or about you, if every person ever came. And so it was like, it's a really bearing all of your soul, like everything to, and it's the ultimate trust that you're not going to say something that they would want to leave you for, but you just get it all out. And,
that was hard.
It's kind of gnarly.
That was the hardest thing, I think.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Just to hear and to speak, both of them on both parts, And I had never asked him like how many women he had been with. And so that was after years of marriage. This was just 2 years ago. I want to say we did this, or a year and a half ago. I had never wanted to know because I was a virgin when we got married. So it was easy for him. He knew the deal. That's it. Right. I didn't know because I didn't want to know. And then I started asking myself, well, why don't I want to know? What am I afraid of? So that was one of the hardest days, but then it made us so much closer. And we wanted to have sex right away and like more, So it was like interesting. The more vulnerable we were with each other, it brought us even closer and closer.
I could totally, I was like, the vulnerability for that conversation is like, intense, but afterwards, probably so, like you said, just so worth it.
There's a book that it comes out of called Radical Honesty.
Radical Honesty.
I want to say, and that exercise is from that book. Any couples out there, or they're looking to take their relationship to the next level, radical honesty.
But it's worth it. I'll say it was one of the hardest moments for us, just to hear things. But then it was, I love you unconditionally. Yeah. And that's why we're here. You know, like we choose to be here and love each other unconditionally, just like our children, you know?
Love that so much. Okay. So before we get to our final question, where can Life Pixers connect with you and learn more about you?
We're both on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle there?
Wild Meat Athlete.
Wild Meat Athlete.
I pretty much do everything through Instagram. So that would be a good place to follow me, link up with me, direct message me, any questions or anything like that.
He loves being asked questions, by the way. He loves it. I'm on Instagram, Krystal Jackson 824. I also have a business as well on krystaljackson.com. So you can reach out to us either way, but just know you can always like DM us and ask us questions. Like we're open book and happy to help out any way we can.
Amazing. Okay. All those links will be in the show notes so everyone can find them. So final question that I ask everyone is, how would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or respect?
I knew you were going to say respect at the end. I had a feeling. Love, you cannot use love, trust, or respect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You go first, honey. I'll let you.
It's actually one of my favorite quotes. And as soon as you said that, I was like, don't say any of the words. But I actually got this quote from a guy on a hunting podcast out of all places. But it's basically, to have a successful relationship, you must be more invested in peace than you are in justice. So kind of goes back to that right or wrong. You know, you've got to be more invested in the peace of the household than you are in justice and being right. And that one thing right there, I think really encapsulates a lot of the reasons why Krystal and I are successful in our marriage.
Love that.
I would say it all comes down to communication, to seeing the other person in their highest, no matter what, no matter if they're in a breakdown or whatever, or lost or wherever they are in their life, but seeing them for who they are. And I want to say the T word, so I'm not going to say it. And I want to say the L word. That's so cool. This is great, but it's really about communicating and seeing each other for their truth of who they are. And that's what I believe is.
You said T word, busted.
Truth.
Wasn't it true?
Not trust.
Another thing. She has very good at workarounds.
I say truth.
Truth and trust are way different. They're not even.
She did not say the word trust. So I use truth. I use a different T word.
I like it.
He does love me for all my workarounds because I always figure out a way. My friends have coined me as the queen of possibilities, and I always figure out a way. So
yeah, it's like you're for sure super creative, like creative problem solving. Type of thing.
We call it challenge solving in our home. We say to our boys, like, it's just a challenge. No big deal. There's always 3 or more solutions.
Yeah, exactly. 3 or more solutions always.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. This was so much fun, especially for just a first time getting to know you.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Good luck with the podcast.
That's all for this episode of the Life Pix University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.